Hi, good morning, folks. We're going to get into a few more cards here on the federal law, and then we're going to be going into the appraisal. And I hope you are enjoying these. If you have any questions or any requests, please put it down in the comments below. Let's get on to our first card here. What are the three main areas of federal law affecting real estate? Okay, federal laws affecting real estate discussed here are in the areas of discrimination in housing, real estate finance, and environmental matters. Okay, laws affecting real estate: discrimination in housing, real estate finance, environmental matters. Many of those that relate to real estate finance specifically address non-discrimination requirements that apply to lenders. Okay. What is discrimination in housing? Okay, discrimination is applying special treatment, usually unfavorable, to an individual solely on the basis of the person's race, religion, sex, color, national origin, handicap, or familial status. For example, Abel will be accused of discrimination under federal fair housing laws if he refuses to rent apartments to non-white families. Okay. That's it for my cards on the federal laws. Now these are going to get into the appraisal. You can tell the little man there, Mr. Appraiser. So these are on appraisal. So you can set yourself up for learning a little bit about appraisal. What is the income approach to appraisal? What is the income approach to appraisal? Income sounds nice, huh? The income approach. Okay, income approach is used for income producing properties, office buildings, shopping centers, and apartment complexes. Okay. An estimate of net operating income, which is net operating income, rent revenue minus operating expenses. Rent minus expenses is divided by a capitalization rate to derive a value indication. The main economic principle that underlies this is the principle of anticipation of future income. Okay, cap rate is another term for it. An estimated of net operating income, rent minus operating expenses, is divided by a cap rate to derive a future value indication. Okay. What are some important considerations in the cost approach to appraisal? See if you can think of any. What are some important considerations in the cost approach to appraisal? The cost approach begins with the market value of the site as though vacant and available to be developed to the highest and best use. Cost approach. To that, add either replacement cost, cost to build a modern equivalent, or reproduction cost, cost to build an exact duplicate of the property appraised. Depreciation or loss in value is then subtracted for physical deterioration, functional obsolescence, becoming outmoded, and external obsolescence from outside sources. Okay. External obsolescence, are you guys familiar with that? Functional obsolescence, are you guys familiar with that? Those are things we're going to be covering. You can always look them up while you're waiting. Okay. To derive a property's value indication. Okay, that's the cost approach. What is the cost approach to appraisal? You can see how all these cards go hand in hand. The important considerations in cost approach, and then what is the cost approach to appraisal? Okay, so we have the cost approach is a method of appraising property based on the depreciated reproduction or replacement costs, new, of improvements, plus the market value of the site. This is a fun learn here. Table below shows an example of a cost approach calculation. Reproduction costs new, less depreciation, meaning a physical deterioration, functional obsolescence, economic obsolescence, and you're wondering, how do you get to that point? Well, you add these up and do a total accrued depreciation, okay, which is subtracted from the reproduction cost. Depreciated value of improvements equals the sum. Then you have your site value. Now you have your value indicated by cost approach. Okay. Again, this is just breaking the ice for you if you are familiar with cost approach. We'll get further into it. Cost approach. You have to know all these things. What is a gross rent multiplier? GRM. Important to know in appraisal. What is a gross rent multiplier? Gross rent multiplier, also known as a GRM, also called gross income multiplier, okay, is the sales price divided by the contract rental rate. Although it uses rental income, it is considered part of the sales comparison approach. For example, if the sales price of a property is $200,000 and the gross rent monthly contract rent is $2,000, the gross rent multiplier equals 200,000 divided by 2,000 equals 100. GRM may also be expressed as the number of years of rent equaling the purchase price. 200,000 divided by 24,000 annual rent, GRM of 8.33. Whichever type of GRM is used, it must be applied consistently for properties being compared. Okay? There's your answer on gross rent multiplier. You can always stop, take a screenshot, print it out, look it up, understand it, because you need to know it. Okay? What are comparable sales? Or comps, they can also be called. What are comparable sales or comps or comparables? Okay, comparable sales, often referred to as comparables or comps, are properties that are similar to the property being sold or appraised. Typical similarities are location, age, size, highest and best use. For example, a subject property is a detached 3-bedroom house that is 30 years old and will be bought with an FHA loan. Comparables will be recently sold houses with similar styling, age, location, and finance. Okay. Variations in characteristics must be taken into account when making the analysis by making adjustments up or down to compensate for the differences from the subject property. Okay, comparable sales. That's an important item. We got one more here, folks. Then we'll chunk this piece of information for you and we'll move on to the next video. What are the main underlying principles of the sales comparison approach? What are the main underlying principles of the sales comparison approach? Underlying principles. The main underlying principle of the sales comparison approach is substitution. The main underlying principle of the sales comparison approach is substitution. This principle states that a buyer would pay no more for a property than an equally desirable, suitable substitute would cost. Okay? Other underlying principles include principles of change, contribution, conformity, and competition.